doing? How y'all doing? Hope y'all doing all right today. It's Friday. It is either Friday afternoon or Friday morning. Let's see what I got. We're going to go live. We are here today. I'm just getting everything sorted out. Had a little technical, so now I'm on here. The question is simple. And by the way, I want to thank the people who just signed up for the podcast that you get to watch the rebroadcast of the lives. Thank you immensely. I was pleasantly surprised. Six new folks that take that one show. Thank you. And there will be more of those shows being added soon. Every couple weeks, I like to add the other shows that haven't been there. So thank you to the people who are watching. Appreciate you immensely. I'm inspired, and when I see the support, more shows are coming, and I got a lot more in store. So thank you immensely. Appreciate the respect and the reactions and the conversations. So just then want to say thank you. I'll take the time out to appreciate because it's important that I do that. And with everybody that takes the time out their day to stop through or show the support. So thank you. Now let me address this. This is making Dee Dee look like a warm up act. It's making R. Kelly look like a warm up act. It's making Harvey Weinstein look like a warm up act. This is the big one. And I tell people all the time, there are tiers to this. There are fishes in the water. There's bigger boats. There's bigger everything. If you're Trump, you ran your mouth, and now you got the wrong person. You spoke Elon Musk. All you had to do was just lay back in the cut. Don't say nothing. Be cool. Don't rock the boat. He paid 250 mil. It's the reason why you ain't sitting with Diddy, along with complexion for protection. But now you had to go run your mouth. And now there's a check that's due and you can't cash it. And they're coming for you. So this is the real. Now I'm looking at this situation and it's like, oh wow, this is getting to be real good. Who's gonna come out now and say the obvious? No, dumb Donald, like you didn't done it, boy. So now you got people now, Giselle Maxwell. It's a lot of people looking. Hmm. And now with all the mega people turning, because now people on their moral high horse. Now they're like, what's going on? Now they feel like they got hoodwinked. Yeah, you got hoodwinked. Yeah, you had this turkey play you like a fiddle, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it. He got you right where he wants you. Nothing you can do about it. Not a thing, not a thing, not a thing. Get you off like a chicken wing. Reggie Wayne. The thing is that who didn't see this coming? Unless, of course, you were just in Delulu land and you bought the whole mega agenda and the whole thing. You had to know that this ain't gonna end well. You have to know. Epstein coming back from the great beyond is gonna is haunting Trump and the Trumpikins and the MAGAs. They had to know this. This is hilarious. It's kind of like Jay-Z situation. Birds of a feather tend to flock together. So Mike Gates and all them people that were notorious cheeks for chicks, and Trump kept pushing agendas and all this. Now it's right there for the eyes to see. So what you gonna do? What you gonna do? This is bigger. The Epstein Gate is about to just put a sham on everything you know. So reading everything and seeing everything, and Giselle Maxwell is huge. Don't let her get out and talk. Prince Andrew, where you at? Oh, yeah, that's right. Your brother got you buried where your mama had you buried in England in the castle somewhere because you ain't allowed to give no conversation or testimony. Oh, yeah, we know that if you talk, that's the cat's meow. Because you remember, you said that when you come to the States, you can only stay at Epstein's mansion. You said that now. What's happening? How you doing? Thank you for coming through. Welcome aboard. Thank you for coming through. So this is about to get really good. Yes, I really believe. What's up? Thank you for coming through, man. Appreciate you. Glad to have you. Timing is everything. Oh, you know that video was coming. You know that was coming. And he, what's happening? How you doing? Thank you for coming through, Nola. Well, welcome aboard. Tell me where you're coming from. You know good and well that there's one or two things. He's either getting ready to retire or nobody wanted to touch him. I think it's both. And he got a low budget deal too, 3 for 42. For him, that's a step down, but he fell off. Don't ask me how come Paul George can still get more money than Dame. Well, he carries a bit more weight than Dame, but that ain't saying nothing. Same overrated weight class, but ain't saying nothing. But yeah. Oh yeah, and I just did the Karl Malone video, so check it out if you get a chance. Yeah, but he need that bag though. You want to be poor in rehab, and even though you know, I just I just have an issue with him because I know he wanted to go to Miami, but see, Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra can't afford to have a cat that's a diva. They just got rid of one, and at least with Jimmy Butler, they got to two finals. Dame barely can get you out the second round. No, he saw that he wasn't. He saw that he needed an alpha. I won't call him soft, but I'll say he can't carry the load. I'm not gonna say he lightened the cakes because he can. He does he does enough for a sidekick. But what happened in Milwaukee. You gonna tell me that Giannis ain't nowhere between one and three best player going today? You can argue from one to three, and you can't do nothing with that. With Doc Rivers as your coach, with when you had a yeah, so and he couldn't. He needs somebody strong. So if Giannis ain't strong enough, then what's it tell you about Dame? And I know Milwaukee ain't the sexy happening pick, but what's that tell you when you can't even collab with a guy like Giannis? So that's not a good look. He played himself bad. In fact, he don't belong in the top 75. And as a matter of fact, he played himself into the overrated pile because he got to play with one of the greatest players ever. A man, and let me tell you this too, because I'm only gonna say it live. You're only gonna hear this live. Take note. If no one else don't say it. Giannis did what Dame never did, and that he made himself into a great player. Giannis wasn't nobody special, but he made himself into a great all around player. Put it there. Oh, he gonna stay getting roasted because he first of all he's easy to pick on because he went to Fox Sports as for college commentating because they don't let him say nothing on the pro level. He tried to walk up to the massa and them and figured he was gonna talk bad about the black woman. He thought, oh, if I say something about that, that'll get me back on the good with the massa with the boss. Turn around, people like Shaq, people now taking tearing his behind up. So now he barely hanging on to that little bitty college gig, which actually pays more long term. Because actually, Corso asked Desmond Howard, if you can do the college talk, your butt can get paid. But you fool around, what's happening? How you doing, Kevin? Fool around and mess that little gig up, your behind won't even be a lingerie commentator. I'm just saying that's what he headed to. So he didn't mess he gonna for mess his bag up. The heck no, they don't. But see, first of all, he's a third tier a commentator, okay? Let's get to the obvious. He cornball, he ain't got no personality, all he show you is teeth, and you can get a cat like him without trying hard, okay? So let's just be Captain Obvious. Pretty much. I said lingerie bowl. Yeah, you right. He won't give. He a puppy bowl because he'll probably say something stupid up at the lingerie bowl. Say something stupid. Oh, she don't look right. That don't look right. It don't. You know. Don't mess up like how he'll say something dumb. That's what he had it. A guy who had a promising trajectory is in scrub land, and it's all his fault. Stupid mouth with stupid thoughts and stupid, but just messed up, trying to be down with the folks, and he fool around and is a clown. And first of all, you don't say no stuff like that when your bag is janky. Your mama knew, rest her soul, she knew. And see the problem with him too, he still got young kids, right? Shoot, don't let that chick flip on him. Don't let that be some Shador Sanders or some young football quarterback who throw them dreads back and look at her cross-eyed and then he done. And then you got to pay that alimony. You know how it go. See, so he better be watching. Cause you know good and well he gotta bring that money home. He gotta bring that money home. She ain't gonna just let him, you know, yeah, fool around, mess up. So he mess up worse than he thought. Jive turkey. I'm just saying. That's how it could end up. But you didn't hear me say nothing though. RG3, keep showing them teeth. Because if you don't smile, I ain't gonna no use for you. I feel way bad for him because he's a poor excuse. Angel Reese ain't but so much older than these girls, and you know good and well how hard it is, and you gonna sit there and say some stupid stuff like that. You know, you ain't gotta like her as a player, and you can cap for Caitlin Clark. Okay, you're entitled to that. But where you're going is doing the extra. And when you start doing the extra, that's where your people call your heart out. They know you soft, and they got no respect for you. You know your mother, your grandmother, cousins, aunties, kinfolk is looking at you like, unless of course they just don't love themselves, and then that's a whole nother story. Yep, he is. I mean, I ain't gotta say no more. But I don't want to have to say. I really don't want to have to say no more about him because after the Shaq part, I mean, I really don't, because he's a waste of time. To be honest with you, he's a third tier commentator for starters. He's one of them turkeys you don't pay no attention to. He's to the side, to the side, to the side of somebody. Okay? The Fox gig is his last real gig, if you must know. Yeah, they give him a toe. Yeah, he got podcasts. He'll make some coinage off of that. But the Blazer, when you wearing that blazer and you got them fresh braids, you know he got the fresh braids and his grills. That's because he's doing that commentating. He ain't make that kind of money off no podcast. He got doing that. That's that grin on cue. If you want to donate to me, you can. I have a button up there if you want to donate, and I have a PayPal set up. I will take donations, but no one usually comes on me asking me to donate unless, of course, you got a legit cause. And I don't donate to OnlyFans and people I don't know. Oh, he was great in Baylor because I remember when he beat the Washington Huskies. Had one of the greatest college. The guy was bad. He came right behind Cam. I know, but I'm gonna let that turkey talk, and next time I'm gonna pull him off. You get one with me. Second time, say something dumb. It's done. We'll see. Well, I remember it like yesterday, Ted. I mean, we're bad at Baylor. Thought the cat. Remember, came out with Kaepernick and Russell after Cam. Thought he was gonna be one of those cats because he had the tools. He looked like he was gonna be about it. He was corny, but he could play. But yeah, well, I watched that game against the Seahawks. He was stretched out on that floor, and that was bad. That was one of the worst messes I ever saw because they were going to tear Seattle's behind up. He was bad for a moment. For a moment. For a moment. I like to remember him on the field because, boy, outside of the field, the brother is gone. It's a shame I gotta say that. You gotta sound like Laura Ingram. Just throw the football. Don't say nothing. Just that's pretty much with him. Please don't say nothing. Because I didn't know how janky and sideways that turkey was. But now I know. lived there. I was a youngster. James Rodney Richards was a bad dude. Bill Verdon was a bigot. They brought Nolan Ryan in. It wasn't the 1-2 punch like you thought it was going to be. They knew there was something off with him. Well, I'd been done that. If you ever wanted to know why I did, that was one of the many reasons. That, and when he had his autobiography, he talked about Magic Johnson in his book. And Magic was like, "What's he talking about me for?" Pretty much. He one of them good old boys in Texas. I lived there, man. I lived there. Who you want to know about? I lived there. I was there. There was a guy named Craig Reynolds who used to play. Came from Seattle. He used to play for the Astros, the shortstop. I want to say Bruce Bochy. Yep. And when he All Star game when he struck out Reggie Jackson, he made him look bad. But then he had a game. I think it was the Cubs. He was 10-4 one this year, and then he just wasn't in sync. You could tell. But Bill Verdon's behind. Yeah, that was Astros manager back then. Oh yeah. And Bruce Bochy was one of the catchers. He sucked as a hitter, but Alan Ashby was a catcher. There was Dwayne Statz, who was one of the broadcasters with Larry Durker, who used to pitch for the Cardinals and Astros. I remember it like yesterday. Enos Cabell was third base. Cesar Cedeno, Terry Poole, Jose Cruz was in left field. He was pretty good. And Denny Wallen. And they had Joe Sambito, relief pitcher. I remember like yesterday. You know, this is a side of me that you know. Most I don't share this with everybody because we talk. Oh yeah, I mean when he collapsed, and then life went hard for him. He ended up living on one of the under the underpass where I think it was on Katy Highway because I lived in Houston, and they did him dirty. Did Earl Campbell dirty too, but that's because Earl went to New Orleans, but that's because the way he got pounded. But the Gerald Richards story, oh yeah, it's a travesty. He was the link between you say Bob Gibson, but like Ferguson Jenkins and the White Good. He was the link between that. I mean, he was scary. Yep. And he was dominant too. Dude could throw heat. It's a dirty business, yo. As a lot of politics. And yeah, they brought Nolan Ryan in to supplement. To me, he was. Ryan could. Let me say this about Nolan Ryan. Nolan Ryan is kind of like it's kind of like the Steve Kerr of pitchers. It's like a Forrest Gump thing. He was on the Amazing Mets team, had all them strikeouts, had all those no hitters, but yet I never felt like he didn't have to. He didn't have to. He had that kind of smug about him, and they let him be smug. They do that with them boys. It's like Tony La Russo. They give me the kind of the vibes I get. Okay, it's the vibes I get. It's a good old boy thing. It's a good old boy vibe. Kid you not. And to see it up close and see it how it all played out. Gerald Richards was a beast, y'all. He had some wicked sauce. If you ever get a chance to watch that 1980 All Star game, the way he had Reggie Jackson, he made him look bad. He made him look bad. He had heat. That's why when I see a cat like Pedro talk with a little extra in him, Bob Gibson talk with a little extra in him. Some of them brothers who had a little extra in them, you know exactly what that was about because they got a little bite in them. He was a beast, y'all. He was a beast. You striking out Dave Parker or Stargell, and they had liners back then, yo. Tell you, he had the stuff, yo. He had the stuff. And in that era, there was a big difference between the American League and the National League. Oh, there's no doubt in my mind that had he stayed healthy, he would have been one of the greatest pitchers ever. No doubt in my mind that he had the stuff. or what legends were made of. They just didn't want him to prosper. That's all. So when you're in a redneck Billy Bob situation, that's what's gonna happen. Pedro was great, yo, but he also had that edge to him. He had the same edge that Juan Marcel had. Juan Marshall had that too. Gibson had it. Them brothers pitched like they every made every pitch count, and they knew they didn't have it made, and they talked like that too. I saw that Pedro clip where he was telling when Clemens went after hit, and Pedro said, "Which one you want me to get?" Because he wanted to put two Yankees out, and Jeter was one of them. They didn't play, but Gerald Richards, man, yeah, I remember the whole pictures, the Houston Chronicle. They had pictures. There's still pictures that they should still have on the Houston Post and the Chronicle because they were trying to give them like token money. They really didn't want it to be out to the press what they had done. Malpractice. You do realize they could have sued the Astros physicians and the ball club? Liability? The family could be wealthy behind that for days, for years, for next generation because it wasn't serious medical. And that does fall under the. That's why Bud Selig is a fraud, and you can quote me. Hello, how you doing? How you doing, Elizabeth? Welcome aboard. He should sue him. He should have sued him because when Bud Selig talking about, well, I don't know about no steroids, I don't know about this. You really think that if you're a commissioner and you have medical people and staff, you're responsible for said athletes. You are responsible for their different things they have to do in the process. There is medical. So they have to get reports. That's why the commission them is fake juice, and I call them out on their BS. Thank you. Thank you very much. When you are in these, athletes, that's how when they talk about someone testing for this or that, they are a part to document all that. So when they have athletes come in from different countries and places, they have to check all that out. They don't have no independent doctor for nobody without them knowing what's going on. So Bud Selig, all that stuff is fake. Bud Bowie Coon was fake, fraudulent. Peter, all that mess was fake. They know. They try to act like they don't know. You know. Oh yeah, well, I was a baseball geek, yo. Baseball was my first love. You can be impressed with what I tell you about basketball and football, and tennis to an extent, because I keep with tennis and golf. I suck on hockey. I'm not big on hockey, but that's because obviously I tell the sport news all the time. They ain't got no brothers in there. I'm aware of certain people that made it. A little bit on soccer, a little bit. Yeah, his best year to win the Cy Young was in '81. They gave that to Fernando. That's when his first year in Houston. And Fernando won it because Fernando was a phenomenon. Now he would have been a middle reliever in another world. He gave up a lot of home runs. He was one of those guys to me. I had a buddy of mine who was a diehard fan. Um, it was a lot of the strikeouts and the no hitters, which was incredible. But he wasn't like a guy like when him and Steve Carlton were going at it for the all-time strikeout list. I was pulling for Carlton hardcore. No, Ryan is one of those guys that Roger Clemens was a better version of. And let me say this too, because people always act like because you're older or you can't appreciate someone come along and say no. Clemens was a better version of Ryan. Sometimes the 2.0 is the better version of the original. I can be man enough to say that when I see someone comes along and surpasses what someone had started off. It's kind of like with Jordan and Dr. J. Even though Dr. J belongs in the top 12 or so greatest players ever, Jordan was a next level up. Even though I can make the case that Julius still possessed some incredible display of hand techniques that Jordan never did. But Jordan's career path was a bit more fulfilled. That's all. But anyway, let's just get to this. Let's just stick to this thing. What's up? How you doing? Great to have you. Tom C was a better starting pitcher. That's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons. One of them. Seaver was also more favorable in the media. He had a more of a personality. Ryan was a good old boy. Clemens is a good old boy too. So that's the trade-off. They use it against you when they want to. See, Clemens is really no different than Brett Favre. It's just that they had to tie him to something. And he was born originally. He born in Ohio, but his roots is in Texas. But see, that's where they use him being a good old boy against him. Usually that works in your favor. If you're Joey the redneck, that might usually don't. But this works against him because, no, I'm just saying. And he don't. His son play. He don't really like. He gets some commentary, but you know, it's done in a way where it's low key. So I'm just saying. I don't know. I don't know because my vibe with him is kind of my radar on him is kind of like in between. I don't know. I'd have to hear him talk outright. I know he got that mean spirit in the Max My Piazza. Only because he a Texas boy, Texas vibe I get from the country roots. That's all. Oh, well, next time we talk live, I'll let you know. I'm gonna do some digging. That's what I'm saying. That's why I don't be breaking much about the cookout because I ain't, I'm just saying. And I'm sure he used it when he get lumped with Bonds because it's probably like I should be a Hall of Famer and I should be that. And I'm sure that but regardless of what he is, they always thought he was juicing. They always thought that there was some suspect about him. But he pretty much stayed to himself. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot with him. It was pretty much, you know, going through the motions. Great talent, great player for his era. Even though him and Biggio look like they stat padded a lot. They played in a little kindergarten ballpark because that's when whatchamacallit, when you played it in Enron, before that dude, before they got busted in Enron, all that mess, ballpark was like a chump park. I'm not gonna invest a whole lot of time thinking about Roger Clemens. I wouldn't be surprised. I'll just leave it at that. I'll say I wouldn't be shocked. But I'm gonna say this. He was a great pitcher. And he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And two things can be true because he was low key. And they pick and choose who they want. As you know with David Ortiz. I don't need to say no more about that. They pick and choose how you play the game. It's a game within the game. I keep trying to tell people one thing that don't change. There is a game within the game within the game. And if you understand that, I ain't gotta say no more. Men and women, industry, any industry, but especially in entertainment, sports, a game within the game within the game. And once you understand that, you ain't going, oh, I ain't see it. But Bagwell, excuse me, Bagwell was bad. He could hit, so could Craig Biggio. It's true, Charlene, because they have like that that stench, that mental on them. I had a buddy of mine. He got out of prison, and this one, my ex, we had a pad, and so I had extra room, so I let him stay. Went in his room one day, and it was like his cell. It was all dark and gloomy. If you ever seen My Baby Daddy, the one with Anthony Anderson and Method Man, there's a scene there where Method Man had his room looking like his cell. That happened in real life with this cat. I kid you not. So when you see it up close, you're like, yeah, that was effective. And it's real. And you see the continuation of that mindset. Um, Let me address that about A Rod. He gets in because of his ownership with the Timberwolves. If the Timberwolves happen to get to the finals and Anthony Edwards becomes an MVP, that will befriend him. That will be like a carry to make him. See, what they do is when they put these cats in different positions, then that's kind of like one back scratches another in another capacity. That's how they get him back in. They got him in a position where he's looking like he's done something good. It's doing it for the community service. It's kind of like what's gonna happen with Romo, Tony Romo. That's gonna be his bread and butter to get in, making him look better than he was. I think it was my baby's daddy, and so Method Man. You can Google it. Method and Anthony Anderson were cousins in the movie, and Method gotten out from the joint, and he had the scene where his room was all a certain way from how it was in his prison cell, and he had that mindset. That happened to a cat I used to be cool with back in the day. Same type of situation. Went up in there, and he had like ready to make grilled cheese sandwiches, and like I say, use the stove. The mindset is real. Get used to that confinement. That confinement be doing stuff to cats. Let me know y'all can still hear me because something just happened with my playback. He's right, but the problem is that they don't they don't add nothing to what they got. They don't. They don't. And because the thing about it is what Bonds don't want to tell you, a guy named Dave Kingman who was meat and potatoes, either home runs or strikeouts, they're selling everything but the actual fundamentals of the game. They should be, but they're watering the game down. Society don't care about you being locked up, unless of course you know how to act. Because they got a chance to, because the game wants it to be done that way. They've said what Bonds ain't gonna say is that over in Japan and other places that is accepted, and so there is no more getting you back. There is no more of that retaliation. That's gone. That era is gone. And Catch was, because that's because the game is sold on the long ball. Things happen. You never know. Sometimes you go to a place that it don't work out. Well, they try to get you back into society, but I think that one thing is this: if you're not a violent offender and you can work, you can work out in a regular force, and then you can do your time between, trying to get you to a halfway home and get you in between. They should find more ways to have like what I call more home detention or house arrest, things that make you more susceptible to coming to society. They should work on that. But that's the thing that they do. So that's just something that they're allowed to do. And they just have people fend for themselves because again, they don't really put a lot of stock in about what happens. I did a video about it, and I thought that was a good ending. Baseball is doing good. They doing good. I don't think it's great, but I think it's good. I think you got some interesting storylines. I'm glad to see that it's doing good. You got some great storylines. I think the Dodgers are the most intriguing storyline going. Because I mean, Shohei Ohtani alone is worth the money. Mookie Bettis is right there. Well, Clayton Kershaw, can they repeat? Dave Roberts about to go where, I mean, look at that situation. And they're in a tough division. And the Mets stockpile to get everybody better. The Phillies are trying to make a hoorah. You know, Judge's problem is that he just doesn't, again, it's going to be postseason, y'all. That's what's going to come down to. So, can he deliver come money time? That's all I got to say about Aaron Judge. I told you before, I don't care about nothing now. Wait, talk to me in September, October. That's why I want to see what's up. But I don't think that they put a lot of time in caring about prisoners, and but they do care enough where they can make them into like, you know, they want to act like they care. It's important that they do. I think that he was overwhelmed, and sometimes cats ain't used to that kind of pressure. But if he wants to be in Yankee lore, because they're gonna let him know. They're gonna let him know. They're gonna let him know what I already know. Stat padding is nice and fine and dandy, but if you don't deliver, what's happening? How you doing? Really? Well, the Hawks, we'll see. The Falcons is Michael Penix is gonna be a real interesting story. That's gonna be real interesting. I love Atlanta sports enthusiasm because I always think that they the only place I ever seen that they root for everybody but their own. So I'm glad to see someone that's a true blue loyal fan because they always got some of the worst fans I've ever seen in my life. Usually, you know it's true. I remember watching um, time somebody come in from out of town and play in their stadiums and everybody get rooted for it. I'm like, come on now. Yes, please hit the like button. Excuse me. Hit it up. Um, Talent wise, it was Vic, but Matt Ryan by default. I understand your question, but he got him to a Super Bowl. He was MVP. Michael Vick didn't have the same talent around him. What would have happened if he had a Julio Jones around him? Oh, buddy. Talent wise, it was Michael Vick. Not even up for discussion. But you see, again, this is where I always get into these things about talent. You're going by talent. I'm talking about results. Matt Ryan got results. Wasn't Matt Ryan's fault they lost 28-3 in the Super Bowl? Yes, there's other elements out here in the universe. We're not the only ones here. You know. And I'm not Matty Ice to me was always a cat that was kind of herky jerky. But he did play good. He wasn't big talent. But see, I can't go based on talent. Yeah, I remember that. And that was a surprise. I did like Jamal Dirty Bird, but they got their butts plucked in the Super Bowl. Gene Robinson got ate up by John Elway off the jump. Yeah, I like Jamal because I was watching that game with a couple of buddies who were doing the Dirty Bird. I was with a cat, big Outcast fan. They were from the ATL. They're like yesterday. That was a mismatched Super Bowl. And the Falcons Super Bowls have been very like strange. Yeah, he was a lifelong second, third tier quarterback, which is good for your resume. You're gonna runner up and you get to a Super Bowl. Hey, there's no shame in that because you sure as heck wasn't predict to get to no Super Bowl. You maybe at best would have been a second round casualty, but on the food chain, yeah. But he wasn't the Brett Favre at the time, and when y'all got him, he was behind Don the Magic Man, Gronkowski. He wasn't seen as nothing special. That they didn't see Brett Favre as that. I'm sure if Jerry Glanville had not been so busy trying to do a broke Elvis impersonation, he probably would have hung on to him. But he didn't see him like that. Yeah, I remember. I remember. But he had a lot of hype. A lot of them had hype till you get hit, till you get your strap knocked off. Then you back to normal. He tried though. He tried. Yeah, I give a cat A for effort. It may suck, but I give him A for effort. Yeah, I just finished that one. Thank you. And I tell all the time, LeBron brought that on himself. Like, you don't say nothing stupid like that. Of course I do. You should throw them long passes to Alfred Jackson. You remember Jackson? On the Falcons, and he had some. He could Burkowski could wing that thing too. Burkowski could wing that thing. The Falcons were fun back then. He could throw that ball. They just sucked though. But they had They had cool helmets and cool. They were cool. Yeah, I remember all the Polish cats. Bad Moon Rising. Him and Left Eye burning down the house. Rising was bad, but he thought too much of himself though. He talked crazy though. He always talked crazy. Talked like he was as great as Jerry Rice and Michael Irvin. He talked crazy talk. I don't know. This problem that he run into, that's what's gonna mess up his legalities. The first thing that goes wrong, no one cared. That was he got a ring, but that's like a Tyron Lue ring. What you want me to do with that? You know good and well that we only cared about him in Atlanta. Yeah, no one sits around going, "Oh, he got that ring. Now he belongs on the same page with someone." No, he ain't as respected as Larry Fitzgerald. So stop. You know, he's in the second tier pile. I'll give you that. With some first tier moments, but he ain't in the argument. And what's that got him? Landed him on a show called Fresh that just got canceled. Congratulations, Shady. See, it don't matter in football. Football don't really carry that kind of weight. You win rings, no one's gonna really. It doesn't really add to you. Ted's a huge Packer fan, but Ted, no, the rings in football don't carry that kind of weight. They don't. They might start letting the Brady thing go to their head, but it doesn't really carry that kind of weight. I told him what he got to do, though, Charles. I said they got to beat some legit teams. Stop beating on them tin can teams, because that's how Jordan loved them be stat pad Matt LaFleur. You got to beat the real teams. You beat the real teams, then you can be a Super Bowl contender. Right now, you're a pretender. They know who they got to beat, and they got to take names and play some defense, too. Spank up on Detroit and spank up on somebody to count. Oh, yeah, well, that's a big game. That's a big game because whoever wins that is gonna be feel like they legit. That's a big game. If we play y'all, we gotta stop the run. That's the facts. Ain't no end ways about it. You gotta stop your ground game. Y'all beat the Bills. Y'all gotta find a way to make Josh Allen contain. What Watt video? Excuse me. I'm trying to remember what. Because remember, I done some videos, I put them up and I got to remember. Been a while. Been a while. Yeah, I know. Oh, I had somebody send me that. My definition of that is like someone like their self esteem is shot. They it's not even about them blaming things. It's just that they just find ways to just be just devoid of any kind of anything good. And it's like it's kind of like I was telling Ted. We had this conversation about what's his buddy he used to play for the Rockets and the Clippers. I can't think of it right now because I talked about him. I was talking about him as a basketball player. The guy had this attitude: if I feel like scoring 20 points, I will, and if I don't, I'll settle for 10. That was bum loser mentality because I'm sitting there watching him like, man, you could really at least on an average night, and you know, but you get a lot of this type of mindset. Of course, it's gonna be Eminem because, yep. Um, but Jacob, the jewelry thing is because that was a facade that was created to appease. But I jewelry is not even. That's a whole different argument, and that goes into a different aesthetics. But industry musically, you're gonna be always associating with an artist that does it. That's what you're gonna associate with. Yeah, there's guys like that. Josh Smith is what I was thinking about. There are guys like that. They frustrate you, Charlene. And it's like who can I pick on that's like that? I'm gonna give you an example. You think of an artist that you listen to and they got some good songs, but they don't really add nothing to their career. Their career just kind of like, and it's like you could be so much bigger, but you don't. Like, Jaheim was a good example. We're talking about Jaheim. He's supposed to be like a baby Luther or a broke Luther, and you just never went nowhere. It's like you had a chance to really do something with it, and you just kind of like let that thing slide. So we got people like that. We have people like that. And they're frustrating. They're the most frustrating of all because we lose artists or something happens, but then you got some people who got a potential to be good to great, and they just settle for mediocrity. And if they give you a moment enough to keep you quiet, but it's sad. Well, somebody might call them a freeloader, and sometimes they get spoiled like that. I'm not gonna say he had it all, but I'll say this: he could have been bigger. He had a chance to add because he did come over to my place with Nelly. He had the voice, and he just didn't work on his craft. And that's another thing. They don't work on their craft, and then they just kind of, you know. But people sometimes get spoiled into having access to what they want. Sometimes they get spoiled that way, and sometimes they're not in the wrong because whoever has allowed that to happen has allowed that to take a life of its own. So I can't find fault and say that hey that they I don't like it personally, but I can't say that they're no wanting back. He should have, but they're not at the stage where they could use him. He too old for what they. Cause right now he's not gonna be able to finish. They weren't gonna beat no Indiana if they had him. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you did. Yeah, I remember that thing like yesterday. Cabbage Patch cracked me up. He should have considered retiring there, but he likes to. He's too far in the machine to go back home. None of my watch. He won't. I know Pat Riley said the keys underneath the door, but they just saying that from a marketing perspective. There's nothing he could do in Miami at this stage. You know. See, it's the first time in his life he's vulnerable as all get out. He don't have no control, so he know the end is near. He'll probably retire in this year. We'll try to wing it. If I got a feeling, if he anything, he might try to come back for 2 more years because he knows Bronny still got 2 years left on his contract. So that's pretty much what he's hoping. But I don't know why and how. I still wouldn't be surprised if they trade him. I did do the video. I wouldn't be surprised if they do. Yeah, he's old, man. Shoot. And he came and those points don't make no difference. I think that's the main thing. 24 plus rebounds, assists. That doesn't make a plus or minus as far as helping your team win. So what we got is stat padding. Yeah, but it ain't the same no more. And he's more susceptible to an injury. So, I don't know what he's playing for at this stage. I mean, you just stat pad. You don't have a championship team. So that's how I look at it. If you ain't playing for a chip at this stage, you're just wasting time unless you need the money. They don't have nothing nobody wants. It's not about loyal. Nobody wants Draymond and nobody wants Jimmy Butler. And they're going to go into camp thinking that that's enough to work with. I'll tell you this. If Giannis was available, that would change in a New York minute. But really, there's not much you could you Buddy Hill, and there's a ton of them out there. I think that's the problem they run into. There's nothing that's really worth to get because you got to kind of work with what you got. And if you make a move, you got to go young. And they're at a stage they're going to try to give Steph at least 1 or 2 more runs. That's the plan. I still think he'll probably retire when he's 40. Can't see him playing past 40. Not saying he can't. And of course, the things I do see is that yeah, he could actually get to 30,000 career points. So well, they both two peas of the same pod. So Ultra was like as they try to articulate the other one out, and then they end up both being pimped and hustled. Ocho had to clap cheeks to get where he got. Marcellus had to grin and shine and shimmy to get where he got. They two are the same. At least Wiley was a third tier defensive player. I can respect something. Ocho didn't even barely play training camp. Just big and dumb. That's all. Goofball. But he was smart enough to clap when he had to. He clapped on cue. That's the best defense he ever played. But that's all it was. He got his coming to America. They both clowns. That's what he did. Hey man, I'm telling you, that's how that business works. You got cheeks for checks. I keep trying to tell people. I don't know. I try to tell you. Ocho had to clap cheeks for checks. If he don't do them cheeks, he don't get no. I'm trying to tell you. And she knew what she was doing because she picked up one of the most cornball nerdy cats. Like, you want me to clap the cheeks? You want me to clap? I'll clap, Joe. You want me to clap? And that's what happened. Ain't no beef. Nikki's just mad. Nikki got a right because the industry turned on her. She was the it girl. And now they got no more use for her. SZA's hot right now. It's all politics to turn black women against black women. That's all it's about. And they make you hot and then they got no more use for you. And Nikki's getting some cold hard facts. She's getting older and there ain't no money there for her. And everybody turned on her. And that's done on purpose. And she ain't gonna tell the truth because she don't want to be like Foxy and she don't want to be like Lil Kim. Pillow the post. I'm telling you how it go. But see, she don't have no J Lo appeal. She got to find out to get Plan B. Joanne will be one of those kind of people. She'll probably OnlyFans or she'll podcast. She got money. She got, oh, believe me, there's some old dirty perv white dude right now that's in the Senate will put money on her books. Somebody hangs out with Trump, be like, let me put, oh yeah, believe me, she'll have a child. She'll have money. It just won't be it'll be what I call a low key donor. That's what happened in Fox. That's the same thing with that Dixon cat. Old cornball, looking white cat. But see, she ran her mouth too much, and she ain't got no personality to sell it. See, Ocho was corny. Okay, no, she ain't Orlando Patrick Ewing now. She cause see, they want to put some money on her. They could put some money on her. She still got something, but the problem that she runs into is that you turn off the wrong people. They ain't got no use for you. See, she ain't in that. She ain't quite there yet. Oh, I do believe it because Trump works with all the anybody that's a hustler. Well, look at Matt Geis, look at Stephen Miller, look at the people, look at Steve Bannon, look at the people by association. And if a memory serves me right, if you wanted to get 5 million, get your American citizenship, something with wasn't El Chapo's somebody associated could enter the states a bit. So yeah, it's all connected. Jay Z ain't Jay Z is a business that's a man. He ain't running them. Of course, you think you can boast and brag on Forbes magazine that you got billions of dollars? What you think? I'm not downplaying you. I'm just saying what you think. Of course, it's connected. You think that when he has that music streamed to, he had it to Sprint or the mother service. Next thing he'll probably have to some app. They got it tied in. Beyonce's album was paid for on the lockdown. Her tracks were sent to Tennessee. He paid off the radios. They paid that album of the year. All that stuff was paid for. The whole thing with streams and all that is all connected because you can't see it. You can't physically see it. So yeah, the music business is ran by folks, and he don't look like him. So there is a book called Hitmen. If you ever get a chance to get it on Kindle or Nook, or however you read that book about the music industry. Hitman. Next time I have to show you what the book looked like. Hitman. It's a good book. Very detailed. Answers a lot of your questions. And it might seem like a long time ago, but it wasn't. And how they pimp and parlay. The hip hop got pimped and parlayed in a whole different way because then they worked in with the prison industry. Jay Z knows what's up. So he knows what's up. Now, well, see, he's got connections with Jimmy Iovine, and he sold him headphones, and he's been good for the business. And Iovine bought his freedom from Suge and all that, and Dre's a good one. He know he like a puppy. He'll roll over where he need to roll. Believe me, they when you saw Straight Outta Compton, that was the whitewash sanitized version. That was a Dr. Dre that I don't know who that is. I mean, it looked like him, it sounded like him, and it seemed like him, but that was the sanitized version. Because if you know the real Dr. Dre, that movie was fantasy. Well, yeah, because Jay Z, because Desiree Perez, if I'm not mistaken, is a bigot, and all kinds of stuff came out. He got all kinds of people that does business with him that have done some shady because that's the business he's in. Well, Suge Knight always said that Dre wanted to be white, and it was an act anyway. Hello, how you doing? What's happening? How you doing? It was an act anyway because they sold most of them are. They sold a facade that could sell. I mean, think about it. When you name your group NWA, come on now. I mean, obviously you're trying to get some attention. Yeah, when he was locked up, it's an interview. You need to look. If you get a chance, it's on YouTube. Because he said he wanted to be white, and I couldn't make him white. He said that's an interview from '96 when he was in prison in the '90s after Tupac had been on the live, and he came out and said, "I can't make him white." He said some men are born male. That don't mean that they're men, and he had all these little randoms that he was saying about Dre. But some things with Suge, you got to take. That goes both ways. Because he was probably told to put her in line. She's good for his business. And see, when you say about people that are like that, that can also mean that they could have other enterprises that they're involved in. All his money ain't gonna be legal. And if somebody really wanted to come after him, they could cut because he's got some business practices that have been suspect, and he's failed in some of his business endeavors. That liquor one right now is going through something. The 4040 Club came under, and the title music thing, which Nicki's going on about, well, it's enterprising, but it's a good possibility he could be strong in there and tied to things. I'm not gonna get into a whole lot of conversation about him and stuff because I don't really care about that turkey. And I know that his snitch hounds sometimes come around and they like to try to act at people who they don't like who say stuff. But his business practice is gonna leave a lot to be desired, and they're gonna be if there is gonna be any of his undoing, it's gonna be because of a lot of the stuff. It might be the only movie he could make. He might not have had a choice. Read between what I'm saying. Sometimes you don't have a choice in that business. You got to make moves that they want you to make. And if you got to ask me who they are, then you ain't been listening because sometimes the cats don't have a choice. They put people in position for you that they know that they can do. It's got nothing to do with you. See, because if you remember, what was that video that was out with him 20 years ago? Look up the Jay-Z commercial where they were talking about the portfolio. There's a commercial where they use him and they just show his hands and they say businessman, this and that. They're trying to make him out like he's some Barry Gordy type, like he's some tycoon. There's a video of it. There was a commercial. And then, of course, he had Warren Buffett and all that. And he's sponsoring LeBron and, he's working with this person, that person. And then, when he was president of Def Jam, that's how they try to make him into a power player. Very deceptive. So they will put people who they want to put with him, and he'll have to co-sign and agree. It's gonna be something that's gonna blow the roof off, though. You'll see. Mark my words, though. Everything that's going on with him is slowly. Someone forecast that it's gonna slowly get it there. You know, him and Beyonce. So you'll see. That's all I'm gonna say about that because there are a lot of intangibles involved. But I did look at him sideways when he did that interview with Gayle King and he got his masters back. Well, this one's kind of unfair. If everybody's healthy, if is everybody healthy? See, JR's gonna be the odd man out because he got to cut short. Oh, if everybody is healthy, like if I'm getting the best of everybody, then JR's my starter. This is the part I don't like that you asked me, but Shilling's got to go to the bench and Andy Pettit got to get cut. Pettit is clutch, I know, and I love Pettit, but Shilling, I can't stand him. But he got the moments in the postseason. You can't even ignore because Pettit came up like this in the postseason, but Shilling came up like bloody sock and the Robert Ory syndrome in the postseason. He's a one up above Andy. And I hate saying it too. As a Yankee fan, and I can't stand Schilling. See, I like to be honest with my takes. Even with people I can't stand, I gotta call it like I call it. Well, he caught him when he was younger. He was gonna be straight shooting with him. Dusty and him were kind of like boys because Dusty was more player oriented, and Dusty also vibed differently. Yeah, it's possible. I mean, I'm not arguing that. Every great player has that manager they feel that way about, except for LeBron. But everybody else, the normal circumstances, they got that one manager they feel that way about. Well, if you ask me who I thought LeBron's favorite manager was, I'd probably say probably Tyronn Lue. I'd have to say Ty Lue probably, but everybody got that one manager that they. Mhm. Yeah, well, it's true. I was too. He was always one of my favorite people. I had his baseball glove as a kid, and he was one of my favorite Dodgers. Dusty commands wherever he went, you know. So glad he got his chip, and they can't take another from him. Yeah, it was because it was well deserved, and he's one of those guys that the guy could flat out manage wherever he went and handle ego too. So it ain't everybody who could have managed the Barry Bonds and the Sammy Sosa. So he did the thing. Yeah, that was one of the most unfortunate things. That was a crazy night. I remember that like yesterday. I was watching that game live too. They could have made a Snickers bar. The Southwest, the airlines where you pilots were trying to get out of there. He did, but you know, still, they let him have it with the brew. Most people go to ballparks to try to catch stuff, so it's like you feel for them. But well, of course, because them they had one of the 2016 that they won. But think about it, they never was the win in someone's lifetime, and that turkey was up there in the way. Man, people gonna be in their feelings about that. So I understand both sides of it. It's a two-sided, two-coin argument, which I get. I get it. Well, they did it to Mookie Betts. So, and remember the boy with the fishing net against Baltimore in '97. Jeter hit that home run and he scooped it over the fence. So it already has happened. Oh, but if you did it against they wouldn't do it against the Yankees though. Mm-mm, mm-mm. You get beat down for that. You get beat down. But Yankee fans against other teams, oh yeah, they're notorious for that. I didn't, cause old boy was in right field tomorrow. See, and all you saw was a scoop. Went fishing. Well, of course you were at the time. You were just like about that big. You would, but I remember that thing like yesterday. I wasn't not. I was laughing because I thought, that's home court. Kid just had the whole scoop like he was going to fit, like he's catching crabs and scoop a net. I was like, wow, that was in right field. And you got to remember the right field porch is small in Yankee Stadium, so you imagine what that's like. Yankee fans are some of the worst, though. So you like to think it does. You like to think it does. You like to think that people can let bygones be bygones and people will be forgiven and they don't hurt. I think sometimes we say that, but then there's certain things that we've been hurt by, and we don't get a chance to talk it through. Sometimes we never get a chance to tell how we really feel. There are pains that we will always feel. I think when we talk about racism, we never get that out because if our loved ones went through it and we experienced that, and the way the disrespect, he don't forget. I understand. Shoot, she had every right. They made a mockery of his life, documentaries and all that. Carolyn Bryant lived to be 88 years old. No one came for her. Nobody that was presidents came out and said, hey, we're going to have a material bill. We're going to do anything. So, yeah, it's tough to have to go through. I mean, you got to understand something. We want to forgive. Spiritually, we want to until someone does something that just erases, irritates us, or we are to our core. We want to. We would love to be more compassionate. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work. We want to. You don't want to walk around sour on stuff because life is too short. It go by way too quick. But there's some things you have to leave alone. Some things you just have to let the Lord take care of, and you have to ask for another hand in it because you're just not strong enough spiritually, psychologically, but also just that you're the part of the world that is just not, and it's just something that's there. Sometimes we can't. That ain't gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. When that day comes, you're gonna get reparations, and you're gonna get a free trip back to Africa, and you're gonna get free because they're gonna about to tear the world up when that happens. That ain't gonna happen. If it ain't happened by now, then it ain't gonna happen. You're gonna need about 100,000 George Floyds for that to happen. I'm just keeping it a buck because they're just not that progressive. You know it's true. Racist country, hateful agendas. Oh, we gave you Obama. What else you want? That's Mitch McConnell saying. They're not gonna do that. They should. Yeah, common sense say duh. You got people now who think, well, don't you got enough? I mean, what else you want? That's the mindset. Because if they were, they would. And that's not gonna happen. I've been doing that forever today because that's something that we used to do all the time. One of my favorite movies was right when you were born, New Jersey Drive, when I still remember when the dude did that. Uh, Sorry about the Dakota. In New Jersey Drive, he says, "Now y'all need to pull over. Now we're coming to get you." It was hilarious. Scared the white kids crazy in that movie. I don't know. Well, I don't know. I'm not a specialist to say that it can be cured. Um, it has to be spiritual. Can't say it can be cured by in like a herbal scent. It's like a spiritual. They don't. They don't. They have a strange way of how they do that Dakota. I'm glad when people show up, but they have a strange way of what they do. That's how I look at it. Okay, the poll is getting good. Skin tight was a jam. Dun 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 dun. Let them horns. Y'all anti-British. Sugarfoot, one of the baddest cats, guitarist, vocalist. You know, the higher plays were like a hybrid of R&B, gospel, funk. Trauma is tough. It takes a lot of time to overcome it. I don't like to minimize stuff like that because it's real. You have like recurring flashbacks and dreams about it. They can do wonders on your head. They underrated because they didn't get what their white counterparts got. They were every bit like the black version of the Rolling Stones and even more talented. Never gonna get that due. Cats could play. You know, when you listen to Sweet Sticky Thing with the drums, First Mississippi with the blues, you know, they just had a way of a tone. They had a distinctive way, and then you hear a song like Honey with the synth strings, and you know, just when you listen to their music, the organic, the orchestration, the tone. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Put a lot of work in. Actually, it's been growing more and more. Probably been more in the last year. So I appreciate everyone that's been putting the word in. It's a lot of work and it takes a lot of time and dedication. But I appreciate people like yourself support me through the years. But it's work and challenges, and of course you have to always make sure that you're on code, what goes on with YouTube, etc. And then also, you know, I live for them. Thank you. Well, because what I can do live is what I don't do in video. Like in video, people get bored and they want something for content a little bit different, unless of course they allow you to be more sophisticated. Now, when I say that, you might ask me something on a live stream, or somebody may ask me something on a live stream, which I don't get asked on a regular. That is somewhere I can go, and that's where you get to get the information. Let's get Gloria. I love Olivia Newton John better, but Gloria was a better song. Physical was corny, but it worked for the time, but it was corny. I just don't think that he's a confrontational cat. I think he's trying to be more middle of the road. I say bougie, buppy brother, a buppy. That's what I would describe him. I wouldn't say, I say buppy. He's been a Hollywood kid, and if he was a certain way, I wouldn't be surprised because he was starting so young. He was in that baseball movie as a kid. He's had incredible success in his young adult career. So, but I don't get. I don't know. I mean, I'd say a bumpy, bougie brother. Still finding himself too, by the way, because he ain't all the way in. I never really get asked about him too much. I mean, he's an interesting. What did he say? I didn't watch it because I didn't pay it no mind. But what did he say? Well, he probably said, "Oh, y'all don't run like Pete Rose ran over Ray Fosse. I need to knock somebody down and all this derby and all this." What he don't get? Oh, they gonna be. Oh, he gonna be off. Gonna be interesting. They let the smoke clear. That's why with that whole take and the Epstein thing is gonna be looming large. I can't wait to have what he gonna have to say with that because it's going where I think it's going. Oh yeah, that's how he does. We didn't see have All Star games like this in 1975, 1955. Okay, man. The Mad Dog has got that Bob Costas syndrome. These cats act like they pushing 105, and they talk like they seen Lost Century. Sometimes they come off like they're deeper than what they are. You could be in a lot of trouble, yo. The Epstein thing is starting to cook, and Elon Musk done dropped the T, and I'm telling you, that could take down a lot of people. Because I know it's deeper than what that thing is deep, yo. Deep. And they thought that maybe Trump could kind of slide under the table. Elon Musk then got him that big beautiful bill could be a big beautiful nightmare. Man told you don't do nothing, and you got at him, and then he mentioned, well, what about you and Epstein? And now they gonna open up that Pandora's box. It could get ugly. I think he'll be very systematic and practical. He can't come on there and say LeBron. They looking for him to take shots. I think that he'll be more calm, reflective. He won't. He does that on his own interviews now. Remember what he said about Curry? That was hilarious. He says, "You're not a great, you're not a Hall of Famer, but you're good." Like that ain't gonna happen on there. No, cause he ain't Charles Barkley. He ain't. It says a lot about the so-called friends, families that don't. Sometimes the people don't want to see them because they don't want to see them in capacity, but they got to understand that people still need them. They're still lifeline. They're still bloodline. But sometimes people just separate. You know, it's a shame that they don't get any visitors or people to respond to them. So people act like you don't exist. It's a cold world like that. Now Jordan ain't gonna do that though. What purpose would it serve him? KD's got 30,000 points, and there's a whole generation of eyes who are looking at KD and gonna think, "Why is this old man dissing me? Why is this older cat so bitter when you know?" And he's not gonna say that. Some of it is because of him going to the Lakers, and some of it is because of his personal life. Can't be because of what he represented for the city. So he was the only other brother in town for the longest time. But the reason why they had to act like they giving Dwayne Wade some token ownership because they can't attract nobody black in their place. So I'm just saying they got a few guys playing, but it's not exactly a hotbed for brothers to want to hang out. Sometimes people do that. No, they weren't. No. Well, they had Daryl Griffin, who was Dr. Duncanstein, Adrian Danton. They the New Orleans. It was the New Orleans Jazz. They stunk, but they had a little bit of a postseason run. They had a little postseason run. They weren't the worst team I saw. Well, that's up to the individual. Depends on how loyal you are. Depends on what kind of crime we're talking about. There's a few factors involved on both sides. Let me just say it like that. So that's how I look at it. They have a right to move on, but then it depends if some team people are loyal. I know that one chick, Jocelyn Savage, she's still loyal to R. Kelly right now. Her parents are still tripping, but she's still loyal. So it all depends on who you're talking about. And I'm sure Diddy got some couple people loyal. Mm-hmm. Depends. It all depends, though. Okay. Okay, if you're still on, let me know because it got real quiet again. Blondie, that's a no-brainer. Deborah Harry. Tony Basil was mainly because of choreography. She was a great choreographer, but as a music artist, Deborah Harry had far more juice. Rapture alone, I mean, Basil could move though. She was cool. She was the pop girl's Paula Abdul. I used to like Taxi. Let's say Taxi. I'd say Coolio. It hit more harder. Changes was just like thrown after he had passed. It had moments, and I But I thought Coolio with Gangsta's Paradise hit with LV on the hook. Oh, good times. The What's Happening theme song. You know, I like Henry Mancini a lot. But the Good Times theme song had more, you know, that crazy organ. But Good Times got that theme. Let's see. Well, there were many different Cosby's Harold theme songs, so that's a tough one. I'm gonna say Mash because it really felt like Vietnam. As far as what you talking about, talent or looks? Jasmine Guy or Jada Pinkett? Sanford's gonna always win. Come on now. And I did like Aretha with a different world, but Sanford, come on now. Quincy Jones, that's a no-brainer. That sounds like dun, 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 down home. That's down home biscuits. That was Jasmine over Jada. Cause Jada ain't done nothing that like well talent Jasmine to blow out. Jada can't sing. Jasmine was an okay singer. Acting, Jasmine had a character on TV bigger than anything Jada put her in for her roles. Aside for Matrix, and Jada ain't giving off that kind of energy as an actress. So yeah, I'm taking Jasmine in a blowout. Icon of the two, Jada, but that don't again. That's not really because the problem with that is she's not the talent that Jasmine is. It's kind of like one of those defaults. And a lot of it's because people know it's Jada Pinkett Smith. They don't pay her regular career no mind. Kind of like how she wasn't set at all. She was like the third, fourth, third wheel. So that's how I look at it. Jada by default. Okay. Let's keep these Questions coming. Don't let it be the last one because of Jada and Jasmine. Sometimes strings be strange like that because someone could be bigger than you. That doesn't mean they have more talent than you. And they're popular for reasons that don't always have everything to do with the conversation. Okay. Because they don't feel strong enough in their manhood. That's a big job responsibility. Sometimes they overwhelm, and it can be a scary process for some. Or they don't get along with the baby mother, and there's a lot of ego involved. So there's a lot of factors why. Those are just some of money and positioning. That was the best way I could answer that question. So I hope that answers that question. Some can't be, it's like if you can't cook, get your butt out the kitchen. And so you get cast out like that, and they just tick you off. But they should have thought about it before you get into the 18-year mortgage plan. I'll tell you that. So you have to pay child support. Just gonna be a reminder of it. Think about what we got. No, no, no. She stayed out of the let Joe do things. She defended the family honor. No, Tina Knowles is trying to be a star in her own right. They two different women. They two different women. There's two different totalities at work. Tina Knowles ain't met a camera that she ain't like. Catherine Jackson pretty much kept her life low key. So there's no comparison with that. Big difference of one pulls for trying to, make a name for themselves as opposed to one trying to, take all our names. think that it becomes that way because when you got books out and you got to be all on a conversation and you got all got this and that, ain't nobody come to see you, Tina. Ain't nobody come to see you, Tina. Even Matthew, who doesn't manage, doesn't bogart the whole thing. I mean, it's like so the same thing that helped you get to the top, same thing gonna bring you down to where you. I mean, you need people to give you support, but I always think Tina knows it's kind of suspect though. Yeah. Let's just see. Okay. Two different approaches to parenting, and two different approaches to the situation. So I like the fact that Catherine Jackson took class and understanding. Okay. See what I'm working with. When they run out of options, play and B. When they trying to impress someone to go legit, or they get locked up, or they get a cap in them, or they just get old, you know. But I mean, it's kind of a wide ranging question because the people who gotten old and they still have one last score. So I think that's the truth. That some of them just do it. That's the only thing they know. So street life. Yeah, it's all about what you can get away with because you got henchmen cats that run streets forever. You'd be surprised. Mhm. I mean, think about it with John Gotti and Gambino and all them guys were in their 50s. That's all thugs. You run a mafia, you run a cartel, you thugging. What you doing? You on the streets. So there you go. Becomes a way of life, a way of doing business. If you ever watch Michael Francesi, I'm sure they probably shed light on it. They don't stop. They only calm down if they get why get hit by the feds or they get a retirement plan that they either gonna take one way or the other. That's how that goes. And it's not a lot of swaying. So that's how it is. I will be back tomorrow, and then I'm gonna take Sunday off. So I will do that tomorrow. Been a great chat. Appreciate everybody that came through. Strong poll, and great to see everybody that came through today. I got a couple of videos I'm gonna work on, but they're gonna be future endeavor videos. So yeah, but appreciate everybody. Stay blessed, stay strong, stay woke, stay free, stay true, and stay tuned